Welcome to the Functional Health Coaching Show, where we are here to support and answer your questions so that you can help people on a deeper level get real results and grow your health coaching business. Do you have questions you want to ask live on the show? You can call in every Friday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 1-347-637-1378. Are you looking to increase your credibility and grow your health coaching business using functional lab testing and data-driven protocols so that you can confidently solve health issues? Well, we have the course for you. Go to fdn.today/show to learn more and sign up today. Okay, let's join today's episode.
Happy Friday, everyone. You've tuned into the FDN Friday Call, otherwise known as the Functional Health Coaching Show. I'm your host, one of your hosts, Brandon Mollet, FDN mentor, clinical advisor, practitioner, host of the Friday Call. And I've got a good buddy on with me today that's going to help me out. You guys know him, Brendan Vermeyer. He is all things FDN as well, so always out there growing the knowledge of FDN and what we do, representing us very well, also various places. So we're going to answer some questions for you guys today. So Q&A today, we've got a lot of ones written in, and you guys have been great about calling in too, and just saying hello, giving a compliment, talking about how things are going for you and asking questions. So you guys are definitely welcome to do that again this call. I see a lot of you guys already lining up on the call here. You guys jump on early or anytime you want to. We do this every Friday, pretty much every Friday, maybe just 3 or 4, possibly a year that we miss, but I'm very consistent with this call. 1 o'clock Central Time for about an hour, and we just want to be there to support you guys. It's been FDN tradition for over 10 years to have this call for you guys each week, and we just love connecting each week with you guys. To call in and say hello or ask a question, number is 347-637-1378. Again, 347-637-1378. Lots of threes in that number there. But call in and hit 1 on the keypad, and I'll bring you on, and you can ask a question, make a comment, or help answer a question if you want to. So this call is open to anybody. So if you are thinking about becoming an FDN practitioner, you've been following us for a while, read on a podcast, one of our webinars, you've met me or Brandon out someplace, some way that you're thinking about this is to give you a good feel for what we do. Of course, if you're a trainee, that's definitely what this call is for you guys, as you have questions moving through the course, things we can help out with, something we can clarify for you, and, of course, graduates, right? So as you guys are out there on the front lines doing this work, what can we help you with your cases, anything. So, again, lots of good questions here that we'll go through here today. But I'll say hi to my good buddy Brendan. Brendan, how are things in your world?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Just as we were chatting behind the scenes, just staying busy and making the most out of this time. I'm in the same boat as all of you all in regards to having to stay dynamic and agile professionally, be able to take a pivot. And so, something that I did literally in response to this kind of unexpected stay-at-home stuff has been put on a free challenge for my followers. And obviously FDN just did the 10 by 10 sleep challenge, and I see tons of people offering challenges, but you can get creative with your audience, your email list, your following, whoever those people are, and kind of give back during this time that a lot of people are losing jobs and losing pay, losing hours. So good time for you guys to step up as leaders and offer kind of go that extra mile, show them that you're here for them during these hard times, and raise some brand awareness and maybe pick up some clients out of it. So, yeah, all good.
Yes, exactly. And maybe do some things you haven't done before. You might be kind of forced into it, doing some things that are different and uncomfortable at first maybe, but it's skills that you'll develop, and maybe some products and some things, offerings you can put out there that you'll use now forever, and that'll be in your arsenal. And you can also go back to many of the things you've also been doing previously, hopefully when things return more to the normal. So, yeah, it's a good time to grow. There's always opportunities for growth, and we say that a whole lot, but that is really, I think, what life's about on all sorts of levels: personal growth, business growth, And hopefully you can take that growth and transmit that to other people, help them out in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So if I didn't mention it, April 17th, 2020, for this call. Got a few announcements I'll make here, and we've got some graduates as well before we jump into some questions. So just announcement-wise, if you guys don't know about it, so Oxford MRT food sensitivity test, check out the announcements on that about the discount that they're running on the MRT 170 test, one of my hands-down favorite tests to run. We talk about it a lot on this call. Excellent Lab for Food Sensitivity is a special discount for practitioners that they're doing to help everybody else out, and it's something you can also offer to your folks and see how that factors in. So be aware of that. That's I think one of the best things you can do to support your immune system is to get your diet right, and no better way, I think, than pulling out inflammatory foods that are causing stress on your body. So let's let that immune system fight against something serious and not against carrots and avocado and broccoli that you're eating. So super practical tests now at this time, so you can definitely put on a message with that, talking about the immune system aspect of that. So very timely. So make sure you guys are aware of that. And also, the addendum to the Dutch test has been added to the course. If you don't know about that, Module 13 at the end, Reed's put an additional 9 hours of training there into the course. So it's pretty hefty, and it's no extra charge for that. It's just things that we add to the course as we need to. So very excellent training there. Make sure you guys check that out. It'll help you understand any hormone test that you're looking at, because all those principles of interpretation are more or less the same, right? Labs might look a little different, maybe no different unit of measure or a little different way that's looking at things, but still what you want to recommend, what you're going to recommend to people, those principles still remain the same. So good training there. If you have just recently graduated the course, you want to go back and catch that training there, you can grab that. And you may want to do that as a trainee. Don't let that take away from your focus of completing your practicals and learning the other labs, but it is there if you want to watch that. And FDN Rock Conference. So our now annual conference is coming up October 23rd to the 25th in San Diego again. As far as we know and everything, right now, everything is definitely still on. So I think we should have a good window there to do the conference. I would think based on what I'm hearing yesterday on the news that that's probably a pretty good chance that everything will keep moving forward there. So it's October, so surely that's plenty of time. But make your plans to attend. Check out FDNconference.com, the website there, and you can learn about some of the details there and get accommodations made. It's going to be an amazing weekend. Tremendous stuff. It's a game changer for you if you're a trainee or your business. It's going to help grow those things in leaps and bounds in a very, very, very short time. You could probably have 3 months of growth in a weekend easily by just being around and soaking all up what's available on that amazing weekend. So make plans. My flight is booked and hotel is booked, so I'm going to be there unless something else crazy happens. So we look forward to seeing you guys there face to face, and hopefully maybe not 6 feet apart. I don't know. So I like to shake hands and hug. So it's been a challenge for me during this time. But anyhow, and Brendan, I think you're the same way too. So
yeah,
but we'll keep each other safe and be smart. Right. All right. Well, hey, I'll take my chances with you. How about that?
Yeah.
All right.
Deal.
Okay. Well, hey, and graduates, too. Let's not forget about those. Definitely want to congratulate people. We have graduates almost every single week coming through the course, and we want to make sure we highlight those. It's quite an accomplishment. This course is not a weekend course. It is not a just answer a few questions and pay some money and we spit out a diploma for you. That's not how we do things. That's for sure. You're gonna earn it, but you're gonna have fun and you're gonna be really prepared by the time you're finished with the course. So we always do want to acknowledge graduates each week because it's an awesome thing that you've done. We're proud to have you as part of the FDN family. So I have 3 this week. I want to say congratulations to. So first one there is Amy Osumali, and she's from Pennsylvania. And then I also have Kaylee Miller from Virginia. And then Tracy Carpenter out west there in Colorado. So, ladies, great job. Congratulations. And look forward to working with you with some clients and helping out some folks. Tremendous. Love it. All right. Brendan, did I forget anything before we go on to some questions?
No, I think I know we've been working on the webinar schedule and our AFDNP meetings, and one of the things that we're going to be doing for the next really few months is I know we have a focus on doing some extra like kind of lab training and stuff. So one of the things that we're going to be doing for a while is some specific webinars that kind of correlate with our different advanced courses. So I'll be doing a blood chemistry webinar May 13th, and we'll be offering an exclusive discount on the advanced course for blood chemistry in conjunction with that. Or then I believe our own Ryan Monahan is going to do, the SIBO one for the SIBO course, and I think Whitney's going to do thyroids, and I'll do organic acids and stuff. So just kind of a little teaser there that we are going to be doing some cool advanced training webinars, and also giving you guys a special discount on the advanced courses. So you can expect more on that probably relatively soon.
Awesome. Sounds great. Sounds great. Some of my favorite stuff there. I love the blood chemistry side of things. I think it's one of them. Mm-hmm. I probably use it more than about anything, I would say, because people always have blood scores they want to bring to you and mm-hmm. have you do something with it and pull some information. You definitely can pull some valuable information from blood testing. So, they're all good, but that's probably the one that I'm reaching for the most, I would say.
For sure, and I think a little rumor told me that you might be doing an HTMA webinar for us.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, happy to do that. I'll see if I can match my mentor there in that Kendra's quality as far as that goes. We definitely can get down to some cool stuff, and that's an amazing lab too. So you guys are going to love that. So yeah, we'll be bringing it to you there and giving you options and things you can pull from and use and expand your knowledge as you are ready for it. You don't have to. I will say that. I will not to clutch the excitement there with that, but it's something, those are great things to know and be aware of, but you've got a lot of powerful tools with just the basic labs you learned in the course. That's something I feel like a lot of graduates feel like they have to do is all of a sudden jump into another course, another training. Yes, sharpen your skills, continue to learn, but don't forget about the fundamentals and the basics that you've learned there. Get those grounded really well, and then you can add things as you go. There will be time for that. So always keep a balance to that, and we'll help you with that. So very good. All right. Well, hey, we've got some questions then we're going to go through here. Some really good ones, I think, this week. But, again, if you guys want to ask a question, we don't mind at all. Would actually love for you to call in and ask some questions. So once you do call in at 347-637-1378, just hit 1 on your keypad, and I'll know that you are ready to come on. And you guys in the switchboard right now that want to come on, just hit 1 on the keypad, and we'll be happy to connect with you there. And we've had a great audience past several months. This has turned into a really amazing call. We're thankful for you guys spending your time with us on a Friday afternoon. Maybe you are totally fixed and focused on what we're doing and hanging on every word. Maybe it's just playing in the background. That's cool too. So if you can switch and multitask, go for it. But we thank you guys for tuning in on these Fridays here, and let us know that you're out there. Good way to connect. All right, let's go for a question or two here. We'll jump into a few things here. A few actually, Reed and I covered slightly. Reed and I have been doing about at least for me, he's been on about every week or so, or maybe a couple times a week on various Facebook pages, especially the trainee page. And so we do have scheduled every 2 weeks we're going to be on. And sometimes I don't have enough time to really get into a really in-depth answer, so we try to answer some questions coming up. So some of the things that we I feel like I didn't get to give a full answer to because of time constraints, we might hit again here for you guys that don't tune into that. So if it's a repeat, maybe it bears repeating. All right, here's one. This person says, I'm preparing for the onboarding call. Do I pretend that the original labs still exist, or can I update to what I'm planning to do in reality? So more of a trainee-focused question here, right, in the course. So one of the practicals that you do is an onboarding call, and it's a practice for you to bring a person on as a client. So you get to go through a scripted series of questions, and we outline things for you very well. And it's a practice for just the whole sales process, right? So which may be, in some ways, the most important thing that you learn to do and you get best at. Usually I tell graduates that, okay, I think you know the labs, I think you know the interpretation side, I think you can put together a pretty good protocol here, and that's great, but you need clients. So number one maybe is getting out there, learning how to communicate in various different ways. And the onboarding call is a great way to start to cut your teeth on that. If you already have a business, maybe you've done a lot of these calls already. You're used to doing an onboarding call, a discovery call, free consultation, whatever you want to call it. That may be old hat for you, and you're just making some tweaks and adjusting things a little bit to incorporate FDN into what you're previously doing. So I do enjoy getting to do those calls. I get to hear you seasoned practitioners do your thing. It's always impressive and fun, and I know all our mentors enjoy that call. But if you're sort of new at this is something you're making a transition into a full-time, part-time gig as an FDN practitioner, then it'd be some new territory. So it's a good time to practice just connecting with somebody. And with those kind of calls, there's a lot of possibility for different answers and things you have to kind of go with, right? So you don't really know what the person's going to say. So being able to respond and connect with that person, help them understand what you're doing, no matter what they could possibly say to you, it's a good thing to practice. So practice makes perfect. So anyhow, the question here is, do I still pretend the original labs exist, or can I update to what I'm planning to do in reality? So as far as the course goes right now, until we update things on a larger scale, just go with what is in the course right now with the 205, 101, and that structure there. So just kind of focus on those. If you're doing your R&R, there's a very much potential at this point. If you haven't had it yet, you're probably going to be doing the Access Lab, the new stress and hormone panel that we've put together here. Rita's brought forward to us there. Probably doing that, but for right now, as we're in transition here, just go with the 205 and the 101 and the 401H, the BioHealth Labs. Make packages based on that. Part of the call are the packages you're putting together, but a lot of it's just the practice of interacting and asking questions and vetting to make sure that person is the right person for you and you're the right person for them. So do it that way. And then I would say, person said here also, what I'm planning to do in reality, I would say try to do as close to what you're planning to do as far as for your business or what you're setting up to do. So I think it's different than the labs, like which lab to use, the question, kind of the first part of this question here. So what you're going to do in reality, practice what you're going to do in reality, how you would say things. Yes, stick to the script, but also your business and your existing structure there. Try to incorporate into that. These are all practice. I'll keep this in mind. All the practicals, they're practice, right? So it's not like we have to have you do everything just perfectly right. We want to give you some feedback and help you with that. And everybody's case is going to be a little bit different. So the onboarding is a little bit more of a wild card there as far as how that flows. Most everything else, a little more structured. So, but take it as an opportunity to practice, have fun with it. Like I said, I enjoy it very much, getting to play the average person that I get to talk to and give some fun answers sometimes and walk you through some of those tough things that are sometimes to do, is the communication, the sales aspect of things. So hopefully that answers the question maybe a little bit more than what I was able to do on the Facebook Live. Any tips, Brendan, on the onboarding call about preparation for that, or thinking about how to frame that? What do you do as far as your discovery calls with clients? These days I like to have a lot of information ahead of time, and I'm working on setting up kind of a web funnel so that way, I already have all their information ahead of time, and some of the questions that I ask on that form are, basically very similar to the questions that, Reed poses in the course as far as,
what are your major health complaints? How long have they been going on? What have you tried? What has worked? What hasn't worked? All that kind of stuff. Because, I think with, if you know kind of their history and their main health complaints and, I also on the form ask them, please describe your diet. Please describe your sleep hygiene. What are your major sources of stress? And really the document that I made, it's like, man, I feel like I pretty much know everything I need to know about them. So that way, when I get on the call, it can be a pretty easy conversation of you really, above all else, want to hold a safe and comfortable space for them to open up and share with you what's going on and kind of elaborate because, I think a discovery call isn't so much about like, oh, let's figure out what's wrong with them so we can sell them labs or supplements or whatever. But no, I mean, this is a relationship building session, right? So I think the more we can create that space for them to feel heard and feel understood and respected and seen and cared for, that's why they're going to want to work with you. And obviously, Brandon, this is I think you're the best at this in the world. You're so great at holding that warm, comfortable space. So, I think that's, I guess, my little input there for a successful discovery session.
That's good. Appreciate the compliment, but you do a great job yourself. And that's a huge point that you make there with the safe space and being heard because, if a person's not well, people aren't always very sympathetic or understanding, especially their own family members. And so for someone to have a listening ear, especially to ask probably more questions and want to know more about the person than probably any other practitioner they've ever visited, first of all, and then also to say, hey, yeah, there's real reasons why maybe you feel this way or you have, this mood thing that's going on or you happen to react this way. There's probably some real answers and real reasons for that, and you don't think they're crazy. Not to use that phrase and offend anybody, hopefully not, but, people might think, hey, it's just all in your head or, there's something wrong with you per se. Well, there's maybe some imbalances that are going on that we're going to work on. That's why you're hiring me. But, yeah, you might be the only person that really gets them and understands them, and that's worth a whole lot right there, a huge amount there, that they're not dismissed, they're not made fun of, they're not, like I said, a safe space to be able to open up and talk about things, and the more information we have, the better we can do to help that person. You're going to identify some of those things as an outside objective person looking at this situation. So it's good to be thinking about what's going on behind that call. It's not just the robotic going through 8 different questions. It's what's behind that. What's the emotion? What's the intent? What are you trying to accomplish in a relatively short amount of time? You could talk for 2 hours to some people, but you want to accomplish those things relatively quickly. So you want to be able to know about them and establish some rapport and connect with that person. And it takes a little bit of practice sometimes. Some people are just naturals at it, but it does take a little bit of practice, and you can always learn different things. And again, that person it's a different person you're talking to with each call. And so their personalities, their goals, their background, all those things vary quite a bit. So being able to pick up on that person, understand where they're coming from, and connect with them, it's quite an art. And I feel like that it's our duty to be really good at that because these people are coming to us for help. And if we are not very good at explaining what we do, or it comes through with compassion and with passion and excitement and enthusiasm, and you don't have your ducks in a row, then I think you've done a detriment, a disservice to that person. So I think it's not taking things serious. I was going to say we need to take it very seriously. I think just professionally. So if you're going into a business, you're going to talk to somebody, whatever kind of service or business you're talking about, you want that person to be professional, not necessarily serious, but professional. Gives you a good feeling about that, and if they can help you, then you want to make sure you have a good connection with that person so you can indeed help them. You may be the only person they reach out to about natural health, like they're, well, I guess I could try this, and they call you up, and then you don't have your stuff together, and they don't come on to work with you. I take that personally very seriously. I want to make sure that I'm doing the best I can and putting what we do and our approach and FDN in the best light. And so we're all ambassadors for the FDN course in this way of thinking and doing things, which I feel is truth. It's the truth. So we're harbingers for truth within how the body works and how the body can be healthy. So it's kind of a heavy deal. It's kind of a big thing that we're doing. I think most of us coming through this course do take it that seriously and do remain really professional in what we do. So a lot goes on with that call. So they're super fun. So in light of all that, going back to the question, prepare for it and put something together, but don't have, well, it's fight, flight, or freeze, right? So don't freeze on us, that's for sure. I'd rather you jump in there and maybe not have it 100% together and get some feedback than not do it. So jump out there, do that session, and you'll have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's see here. Hopefully that was helpful. I've got a follow-up sort of to that one here. I'm going to grab it because I've got one hand raised. Let me grab this follow-up call question to this original question. I think it's helpful. And the question is how to approach telling someone during an onboarding interview that you don't think you can help them, especially when you just don't want to work with them. So, Brendan, I'm going to throw that one at you. Let you start off with that.
Yeah. I definitely, I've been helping people, reach their health for a little over a decade at this point, which is crazy because, man, it's got a long ways to go. But I just...
When did you start, 8th grade?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, pretty much. Just been coaching people out of the womb. But, yeah, we definitely... I think a lot of it is with experience and confidence building, and I definitely it's a lot of fun to be on these calls and kind of help up and coming health professionals and stuff, because like I used to be a very not confident health professional, even though I probably was a little sharper than the average cat. And even still, like early in my career, I was really not confident. I kind of struggled with imposter syndrome, or not feeling like I knew enough, or not feeling confident, like closing the sale and using sales tactics. It's very green. And certainly over the years with time and experience and success stories and those wins, but also setbacks, you definitely, that's just a big part of it. And I don't think that can really be replaced. But, nonetheless, kind of the point that I'm starting to get at is you just start getting a lot more honest with yourself, and also a lot more honest with that person that's sitting across from you. Because you don't have to, a lot of us kind of want to be that health professional that has all the answers or can help anybody. But, it's not your responsibility, and, nobody is going to have all the skills to help everybody. So that is where definitely kind of coming up with an avatar or an idea of who is your ideal customer, and that's kind of who you're aiming for. And sometimes you'll get that, sometimes you'll get the total opposite of that, and kind of everything in between. But ultimately, if you really don't feel that you're a good fit for what they need, or maybe it's rather what they want, and maybe because that doesn't always match up, right, guys? Like sometimes what they want is not what they need. And just being confident in your voice of you're the professional, and you need to make sure that you're holding respectful, tasteful, professional boundaries. Nobody, like, if you don't think it's going to be worth your time or their time, it's not going to be a successful relationship, don't enter that relationship. And being honest about that, and leading with love, and kind of explaining your rationale. And this is where I think it's important to tell people and clients, like, here's how I work with clients. And if that's not really what they're wanting, and they can't respect that and kind of get with your program, it's probably not the best fit, and that's okay. So I would just be very honest of, here's what I offer, here's what I do, here's how I work with clients, here's what I see with your case, here's what I would recommend for you. And ultimately, if it's not matching up and you don't feel like it's the right fit, just lovingly communicating that of, hey, I really don't feel that my style of service is really what you're looking for. Now, make sure, though, you got to really check your ego on those conversations. You have to be very non-egocentrically biased and make sure you're not making any assumptions. So really, above all else, seek to understand. Seek to understand what it is that they want, what it is that they're willing to invest in. And if that's not you, then that's where you can present them, hey, what I'm hearing is blah, blah, blah. Am I getting that right? Am I understanding correctly? Okay, if that's the case, I don't know that I am the best professional for what you're wanting. Now, my thoughts of what you might benefit from are X, Y, Z. Here's my rationale. How does that sound to you? And ultimately, they'll be like, oh, well, that's not at all what I want. And it's like, okay, well, then I don't think we're the best fit for one another. So totally okay. But I think a lot of it's just being very honest, very loving, kind of leave your ego at the door. Don't make assumptions. And just at the end of the day, try to be helpful because, what was it, Maya Angelou or something? Like, people aren't going to remember what you told them. They're only going to remember how you made them feel. So as long as you can leave the appointment and you made them feel loved, you made them feel heard and understood and respected, no matter where they go, it's kind of a karma thing. Like you're gonna benefit from that no matter what, as opposed to, you slam the door in their face like, no, like you're a silly person, like I'm not going to work with you. So now I'm just rambling all over the place, but kind of my unsolicited thoughts.
No, major the good points there, for sure. I think you're right. How a person feels is huge. It's a big part. That should be, I said at the end of a results session or coaching session, they not always going to remember everything that you told them, all the details and all the education. They're going to remember some of it, but really that they feel like they can do this and that they trust you and you have a good plan, and that emotion that's there will hopefully catapult them into the next few weeks of change before you meet again. So, yeah, emotion and feeling is huge. A lot of that comes through clinical correlation, how you talk to the person, but a lot of it does come through education as well. You do both. So, yeah, I think you can just be direct with the person and honest. I think that's the biggest approach. And if you follow those 8 questions, the red flags will pop up somewhere along the way. You'll because really ultimately what you're trying to do is help that person what's best for them. It's ultimately what you keep in mind what they need. And so some people, you might realize that hey, they need medical attention. This isn't a job for me right now. Maybe later on, but not a job for me right now. I had this happen a little while ago, just fairly recently. Talking to a lady that looked at working with me and loves the natural approach. And after talking with her and listening to her symptoms, I said, I really think you need to go to the doctor. I think it's just could be something maybe a little more serious, something that I probably maybe don't need to help with right now. I didn't alarm her, but it's like, your symptoms, I think you need to go see your doctor. This sounds like something that's in that realm of things. So I would say don't hesitate. Just book that appointment. Get with your doctor as soon as you can. Maybe even possibly ER. I would go pretty quickly because things don't sound very good. And she was nice enough to send a message back to me a few weeks later and said thanks for doing that, because she had a major gallbladder issue going on and also cancer. And things that needed to be addressed, relatively quickly, not something that liver gallbladder flush and some herbs and some dietary changes are going to do too much about. So you have to sort of know your limitations and our scope and what we can cover as far as a practitioner, and again, going back to what's right for that person. If you have some concern that person needs something that's more on the medical side of things, which thank God we have our medical system for emergency things and situations like that. There's a benefit to that, and I'm very thankful to have that. And also what you need to do and what medical should do. It doesn't mean they can never work with you, but right now they need some immediate attention and you need to be very quick to say, yes, refer to your doctor on this. You need to go now and do that and set that boundary, set that line. That was the right thing for her. She needed that medical attention, and hey, maybe we'll work together later as she moves through some of this, but that's how it is. So, but anyhow, those 8 questions really will help you. And most of the time, if the person's not a good fit, that'll come out just in that conversation almost naturally, and it just kind of comes to that determination at the end. All right. Well, cool. Good topic there as far as onboarding call. Let's grab a caller here. Got 775 area code. Looks familiar. Hey, 775. What's your name?
Hi, this is Deanna. And
hello, Deanna.
How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going through the OAT advanced test, and I have several OAT tests that I've run. And I just wanted to run across with you, because in the oxalate thing, you didn't kind of like say what the realm was. I have a gentleman who is at 1490, and all the markers are high, glyceric and glycolic, but he's got like 35 markers on the test that are high, and probably another 5 that are borderline high. And if I do that shift to the right, then those would all be more significantly high. His creatinine was 29. So he had indicated we kind of have to shift things more to the right. But he legitimately has all these markers. And the problem is he has polymyositis, went through ischemic cardiac arrest, and had bypass surgery done. So he's lost a lot of weight, a lot of muscle mass. And unfortunately, they put him on. Whoa. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Guard dog.
So anyway, he unfortunately he's on a feeding tube, and they're giving him this awful formula that is mostly corn syrup and soy protein.
Ugh.
So I know that soy is high in oxalate, and then the sugar content is insane. I had convinced him when he first got out of the hospital to try the Hope formula, the whole food formula. And we started that, and then he ended up having like some constipation and rectal pain, but the constipation wasn't down low. So I kind of suspect that he might have Crohn's. But he went back in the hospital with a GI, and they found a GI bleed. So they got all upset about doing the whole food feeding, and that's when they put him back on the corn syrup and soy formula. So I'm just in a pickle trying to direct them on how to make their own food, but it's just they're in an overwhelming spot. And I just don't know how quickly I can withdraw that formula. Just had them order the new keto blend. I don't know if you've seen it through, what's their name? They do the Hope formula too. But it's a whole food keto blend. And, just thought they could just introduce that for more calories and then slowly pull the soy protein out. But what do you guys think on the oxalate issue and the sugar? How quickly can I pull that out?
I'll put you on mute there, Deanna. So Brenda's going to go ahead with that, just that way in case the dog jumps in. Brenda, we're going to start with that. That's kind of a tough situation. Lots going on there, lots of moving parts. But Brenda, maybe some basic thoughts on some principles to work with there.
Yeah, situations like that get kind of messy, and again, that's kind of where I think we as practitioners, coaches, et cetera, we have to be careful about how much ownership we're taking over somebody else's life. They need to take ownership of their life, their health, their decisions. And to be honest, something that can get problematic is when a client and or patient is, listening to too many voices, right? Too many inputs, too many voices, and especially, each voice is going to have a different perspective, a different recommendation. There's, the medical voice of what the medical providers are, prescribing or dictating. And it's not our place to try to contradict that. We really want to educate and empower the client on how they can take control of their health. So in a situation like that with, feeding tube and, these weird formulations, and we can't really contradict, the doctor's prescriptive orders. But, we certainly can educate on, hey, why don't we try this or that? That might be more nutritionally sound because, unfortunately, conventional medicine kind of does use these weird formulas. That's just like, what is that? Like we're just consuming sugar and soy and, I don't know. So we can educate them on just the quality of nutrition and whatnot. But, definitely kind of having some separation of like, okay, make sure you're doing the medical treatment as prescribed by your medical doctor, because we don't want to touch that or mess with that. And honestly, it kind of sounds like a scenario almost what we're talking about before of seeing really the type of case that we should get too involved in. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's, hey, do what you got to do with your doctor. And when you have been determined to be medically stable and medically sound and you're wanting to work on optimizing your health naturally, like come back and then let's kind of go from there, because it sounds really messy right now. And, as far as just the oxalates briefly, oxalates is certainly, one of many subjects. And obviously we're not trying to, treat the test paper, but just to very concise speak to the oxalate section on the oat test. If all three markers, glyceric, glycolic, and oxalic are, extremely high, just off the charts, he might want to be evaluated for type 1 hyperoxaluria, which is a rare genetic disorder. And so that's kind of a different type of scenario. And I think the number that I heard sounded pretty off the charts. Now, assuming it's not like a genetic disease, hyperoxaluria, and it's more of like a non-genetic kind of subclinical thing, the majority of times, if oxalate markers are high, it's really more just a reflected fungal overgrowth, kind of microbial imbalances that would be reflected on page 1. I really find, like, I have my thoughts and beliefs on, like, I really never use a low oxalate diet. I don't personally believe, like, our species has evolved off eating plants and animal food for, thousands of years. So I don't really feel that oxalate issues are so much diet driven. It's usually more like, well, they have fungal overgrowth or mold colonization, and the mold is producing oxalic acid directly in the body, and then they're just peeing it out, which is why it's high on a urinary excretion test. So certainly this is where clinical correlation and evaluating, each individual marker and zooming out, looking at the whole lab, but then zooming out further and looking at how that one lab fits into the whole case. So, so that's kind of a little thought. If those numbers really were just off the charts, that might be more of a genetic situation that he needs to go, sort out with a kind of medical genetic person. But the case overall kind of sounds a little bit medically complicated for us to try to, really help him with if it just gets blurry. So those are kind of my initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dan, I think it's a hard one to unravel on a call like this. It might be something where booking in for a medical director consult to look over some of those to get a little more feel for what's going on there. But, yeah, kind of at the same time, I agree with Brendan here, maybe kind of overstepping bounds a little bit. because of all the complications here and what's going on. I think I hear your heart, and I think all of us want to help people and feel like we can come in and do that, but it may not be that situation in this case. So it's good to try to help, but it seems a little bit. Some things, I think maybe you called in about this person before. It sounds familiar, and there's some family things going on, different things, and for the care. So probably something that we would say, let's unravel in a medical director consult, is what I would say on this one. And we'll kind of move on to the next question here, but I do appreciate your heart and what you're trying to do to help somebody. But, yeah, we've got to know our boundaries, what we can really do, where we should be working, and that you're promising them amazing results, but you're trying to help. But sometimes things get a little more challenging, and it's not so cut and dry. It's not somebody coming to you saying, hey, I'll do whatever you say to do to get healthy. Just tell me what to do. Sounds like there's some more confounding variables with this one. So wish you the best. Hopefully you'll book in for a call there. All right. 14 minutes left in the call. Let me grab another caller. We've got 631 area code. What's your name, 631?
Oh, hi, it's Andrea. How are you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
Andrea. One of our regulars.
I have a question regarding... Yeah, I am. I enjoy the call. I really do. I have a question regarding the anti-Candida diet and why cheese is not mentioned on that, like to avoid cheese. Is there a reason? Is that not part of it, or should it be a part of it?
Is cheese on the anti-Candida diet sheet, or?
Well, it says food to avoid, and there's foods to include. But I would think that cheese should be avoided. That's my thinking on anti-Candida kind of diets. And nuts can also, be moldy. So I'm just trying to get some clarification on what your experience has been with this. Yeah.
Sure.
I'm a little confused because some of the things that I thought would be good and would counteract Candida, apparently I was wrong. Like sauerkrauts and things like that are good to kind of put in some good bacteria into the gut and stuff like that is on the foods to avoid. Obviously, sugar's got to be avoided, yeast and all those other things. But I would think that cheese would be avoided, and also, nuts and stuff like that, because they also are often contaminated with molds and stuff like that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brandon. I
was just saying, just to back this up here. So looking at the our Candida diet sheet there, it kind of doesn't really talk about dairy and cheese that much, other than avoiding blue cheese with the fungus there. So it's kind of omitted from what we've got here as far as what we put out with practitioners there as some basic guidelines, and we'll emphasize being on basic guidelines there. So Brendan, take it from there.
I like all those diet sheets, and I will admit that earlier on in my career, I took those much more seriously. I was much more kind of cut and dry with that kind of stuff of like, okay, I want you to do autoimmune paleo, and, I took it more seriously. And part of it is I think people get excessively orthorexic with their dietary habits, and I think, kind of the functional medicine world is better at scaring people than healing people at times, if I'm being honest. And so I look at a lot of these as kind of guidelines that we can use to navigate our day-to-day food choices, because as far as cheese, I'm just not really a dairy fan, to be honest. I literally, to my Facebook group this morning, was like, let me give you the best free diet advice. Like, cut grains and dairy for 6 months, see how you feel. But I don't give any reason why dairy would be, bad for Candida or good for Candida, or really have any direct influence on Candida per se. Certainly with, I think we have to be a little bit careful when we're coaching nutrition, because, for example, I think most of us would agree, like, organic is better than non-organic, and hey, berries are a really good fuel source, sure. But it's like we have to realize anytime you eat organic berries or organic produce, you probably are going to be swallowing some bits of fungi and mold spores. That's just part of being human. It's ubiquitous in the environment. So, we have to be careful about like not getting so, afraid of all food. Believe me, if you follow all the different like functional medicine diets, before you know it, you're left with nothing to eat. Oh, I can't eat plants because of oxalates and salicylates. I need blueberries because there's mold spores on it. I can't eat, Anyways, with that said, though, that's sugar. Don't want any. Doesn't mean we need to be zero carb. Although I will admit, sometimes like a lower carb kind of paleo keto diet helpful for antifungal protocols. Not so good for fungal protocols. It can kind of feed and exacerbate the fungi. So there are some good. I think with the diet sheets, it's like what are the principles that we can extrapolate from this diet rather than following, creating any orthorexic tendencies in our clients.
Yeah, I think you're right. Kind of the bigger questions here, and it's not always cut and dry, black and white when it comes to diet. If you run a food sensitivity test, there could be foods on there that the person knows when they eat it, they have a terrible reaction in some way. None of those tests are perfect. They're very, very helpful, but you got to put a lot of factors in. So if you're working with who know there's some Candida yeast overgrowth or suspect that, and dairy seems to trigger something negative, then you just say dairy's not good for you. It may not be an immune system response. It may not be feeding the Candida. It may be a digestive response. Maybe something else energetically that just doesn't jive with that person. So I know, Andrew, you've got your individual issues and stuff you've talked about and challenges for yourself. I know you probably attract people with some of those complex challenges there. So it might be something where you're going to deal with people that have more of a strict diet than you or than the average person, and they have to be very, very strict until you can get the system that you're putting the food into healthier. And that's what I think Brendan's getting at here. The Anti-Candida diet is some good guidelines. There probably, if you look at all the diet sheets that we have and recommendations, probably they overlap 85% on all of them. There's 15% difference amongst all of those because the same basic principles are there. So keeping those basic principles in mind and maybe a few tweaks based on their particular situation, plus what they can observe about themselves, what they know already, that sort of tailors and creates that best optimal diet for their body. And then just getting the system to work better to be able to absorb the nutrition, break those foods down, improve the overall health of the body. So it's twofold always with diet. It's putting things in there that are helpful and not harmful, but also the system you're putting the foods into needs to be in as good a shape as you can possibly do as well. So Bill Wolcott said that multiple times on Old Friday calls that, the Anti-Candida diet has some benefit, but it's more about getting that immune system balanced and that immune system keeping that yeast in check. Because like Brendan said, I guess there's no perfect food. You can find something wrong with about everything you possibly can put in your mouth. That's kind of scary if you think of it that way, if you follow too many different things. And that's the case. And maybe that's how we've just, grown up as a society and cultures throughout the years. So there's a little bit, maybe it is the, American mindset in some way of where everything, we think we can make it absolutely perfect and have nothing wrong with anything that we do, and everything's got to be exactly so and perfect, which is a great goal maybe to have in mind. And we also like comfort at the same time. And so we're sort of after that perfect situation there. And in reality, eating food and digesting that's stress on the body. And just eating food and sleeping causes waste and causes stress on the body. Exercise does, fasting does, hot and cold temperatures, all these things. So we've grown to we need the stressors on our system. Like if you don't have a force pulling down on your body and as you're growing, your bones won't form right. You've got to have some stressors on the system. So in some ways, to eat something that your body has a little bit of trouble, it's not perfect, like the body just doesn't absorb it immediately, could that be possibly something beneficial to have a little bit of stress on the system? Maybe it's sometimes depending on where you are in your health journey. Now, if you're just in dire straits, you're really trying to heal, you do want to maximize everything as much as possible to give the body the best opportunity to restore balance. That would be the goal. But if you're relatively healthy, then that's when, you're going to work out a little bit. You might do some fasting. You might do some infrared sauna. You might get out there and push yourself a little bit more. But that hormetic response, hormesis, that response there is a good thing for the body. So there's times to do something more stressful and times that maybe aren't. You want to back up and have more recovery time. I'm trying to lay that principle down here. Maybe I'm doing a poor job today, but I think the principle here I'm trying to put forth is everybody's going to be very individualized and very different, and it's really hard to draw those lines and say, nobody should eat cheese that has any kind of candida at all, or everybody should, either way. So mechanism of action, how that work, I'm not sure. I would have trouble picking out a mechanism of action there because I'm thinking mostly with cheese, I would say most cheeses, relatively low carb, and so that's probably not going to affect the candida directly as much. But if that cheese is something that weakens that immune system, causes some imbalance elsewhere in the body for that person, or some kind of mucus reaction, something like that goes on, that's going to harm the gut potentially, right? That's going to affect the immune system, which is going to help keep that yeast at bay, or fungus or mold or whatever. So it's hard to say precisely, always this time, always that time. So that's where you just have to think with each different individual person, and sometimes you just have to say, let's try it and see. Work it back in, see how you do. Keep it out, let's see how you do. There's some of that trial and error and some of that course correction that you have to do. Even though we have labs to guide us and we're going to be pretty good, we're going to hit the mark most of the time, there's still always going to be some try this and try that and see how it goes. So hopefully that was helpful, Andrew. It's a good question, good things to get into. So, all right, about 3 minutes left in the call today. So I'm going to try to grab no other hands raised right now. I'm going to grab one more question. We'll see if we can get another one knocked out today. Appreciate you guys tuning in for sure. It's been a blast today. So let's see. Do I have a hand raised? Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. One more I had here. I wanted to grab here. We'll go back here to more like a trainee-focused question here. So tips and tricks to be successful in the practicals. What to focus on the most, what not to focus on too much. So I covered this a little bit on the Facebook Live. I'll hit just a few points to think about here. Number one, I would say is, don't over-prepare. You would think it would be the opposite, like, you got to put tons and tons of hours into it and time into it. Yes, of course you do. You want to prepare. You want to do whatever it takes for where you are with your understanding of the material and however your brain works and what study techniques are best for you. You spend the time you feel like you need to be prepared for that session. But, as Brenda knows very well, both he and I do, you can't be prepared for everything. You might get some information during that consultation with somebody that makes you go a little different direction or slightly changes the interpretation or makes a recommendation be different. So you have to leave some room open for that. You can't account and predict everything that's going to happen during a call. So I prepare up to a point. So some things that just, after you look at them a while, they just don't seem to make sense. I'm just going to chalk that up to something that I'm going to ask about during the session. Because one thing you really want to do during practicals is use the power of questions. You don't have to only go based on the information that you have, that you've been given. You can ask all sorts of questions of your clients. That's one of the keys that you have. So that's one big tip right there. So prepare, don't over-prepare, because if you over-prepare, overthink it, one of the cures for fear is action. So you want to take action quickly, so don't over-prepare, and leave some room for some questions and to learn something. Maybe you have to think on the fly just a little bit. It'll all come together. And we do supply very much outlines of what individual items you do want to cover within that. So the outlines are there. So pretty much if it's on that outline, you want to focus on it. If not, just leave it up to see what happens with the conversation. So I've got an R&R coming up here in about 15, 20 minutes, and that's what I'm going to do too. There's a lot of things I said, all right, tons of clinical correlation. This is great. A few things I'm wondering how it ties in with this person. So I've got some questions for my client to see exactly where that ties in, so I know where to go recommendation-wise. Okay. Well, hey, I think that's the call today. So, Deanna, Andrea, thanks for your questions, for calling in, and our 3 graduates, Amy, Kaylee, and Tracy. Congratulations to you guys. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Again, we'll be on next week, I think, with more questions. And so tune in then. And Brendan, man, thanks for being on with me again. Had a good time.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Cool. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.